All right. Okay, so now I'm recording. So we're going to, what we do for this is the first thing we need to do is decide what computer you're going to log into. We have this link here, and this gives you a list of what is available as a computer in the Metals CAD lab and in the Metals Studio overall. Those of you who've been in the Metals Studio know that we have, and it looks like they're all except for 4 are in use. Let's see whether that's actually the case, because you can't go by what this says. If somebody logs off but doesn't actually log off, if they just shut their window, whatever, it'll still show as them logged on. So in those cases, the computer is available to use, even though it says it's not. So don't trust that this list is accurate in terms of what computers are actually available. So I know because I was just on 220B03 and I shut it off. So it may be showing that, and I quit Microsoft Access and didn't log out. So maybe that's still showing me as in. Okay, so anyway, what you're using this list for is to figure out what computer you want to do and to look at the address for them. This is the address, the name of the computer, TSA, which stands for Tyler School of Art, dash 220. There's 220 and there's 220B. 220 is anything just in the, anywhere in the Metal Studios. And then 220B are the computers that are in the CAD lab in the Metal Studios. So generally, probably stick with 220B unless you absolutely can't get into them. So, all right, I've got these, I understand the naming convention now. It's TSA-220B- the number of the computer. And the computers go up to 18. Let me see. Yeah, looks like 17, but I know that there is an 18. So I'm going to go to now back to these instructions that are linked here. All right. And by the way, if you have any questions while you're while we're online here, it is important, just unmute yourself and ask. Okay, so we've got first of all, if you have a Mac, which, if you're looking at my desktop, you probably see that I have a Mac because I've got that little apple up in the corner, right? You have to download this application first. It's called Microsoft Remote Desktop. It helps to connect to the Windows systems on the computers that we have at school. So I already have done that, so I don't need to do that. The next thing that we do is we go to remotelabs.temple.edu. I have this bookmarked. I suggest you do too. But I'm going to hit the link right now. It's going to open it up. And I'm already logged in. So let me see about logging out. I'm going to log off so that you guys can see what it looks like to log on. So this is what it looks like before you log on. Here you are going to put your AccessNet, your TU whatever number. Mine is TUD 23494. Okay. And here's my password for AccessNet. I'm not giving you that. Okay. And then it goes log on. And once I log on, I get this page here. And this has these 3 computers that I've already bookmarked. When you first log in, there will be nothing here. So this is where you have to add the bookmarks based on the addresses you saw in the previous list. So let's say add, and I'm going to add TSA-220B- and let's add computer number 4. And that's the name, copy, also the address. And I'm going to call this 220B computer 4. Now, super, 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 super important. You must click this little box that says RDP link. That's the remote desktop link. Click that. And when you hit add and refresh the page, you have to refresh your page. It's not going to automatically show up. You have to go up to your, I'm in Safari. They recommend that you use Chrome, I think, too. And, but I found that Safari works okay for me. I try to keep my Safari updated, so that could be part of it. But so you see now that 220B04 is one of my bookmarks. So every time I log into TU Remote Labs, I have these bookmarks. I could add all of the computers if I wanted to bookmark, but here's a few. Okay, so now if I click on one of these, for instance, 220B number 3, I know that this is the one I was on a little while ago. You click that and then it downloads a link. Okay, I'm going to go into my downloads, and this is my most recent one. You can see I've been connecting via remote desktop quite a bit in the last few days. So I click on that, and then this comes up. It says Microsoft Remote Desktop. That's fine. PCs, this is the PC it's trying to connect to, or one of them. And here is where I'm going to put in my full Temple at, my full AccessNet Temple email. So again, it's TUD23494 at temple.edu. This is important that you put it in that way. Then, of course, your usual email. Yeah, I got to retype that. Hold on. Okay. And now this is saying it can't be verified. It might be, they're saying they can't verify the certificate. Don't worry about that. Just hit continue. All right. Now at this point, I get the opening as if I am sitting in front of computer number 3 at Tyler in the Metals Studio in 220B, which is our CAD lab in the Metals department. So this is what I'd like you guys to get to do today before we go any further. This is vital. This is really vital because we're a hybrid class, and that means that once a week, we're meeting virtually. And that means in order for you to be able to do your work on those virtual days, you have to be able to log into the computers at the CAD lab. So that's what we're going to do next here. What I'll do is I'll break you guys into, I'm going to put us into breakout rooms so that we can help each other. And I will meet with each of you one-on-one also. So I'm going to do, let me see, we've got 6 of us right now. So I'll do 3 breakout rooms. I'll put 3 of you in each one, and then I'll have a 3rd breakout room, and I'll be pulling you guys individually into the breakout room with me. So don't feel, I do apologize that I can't give a lot of warning when I do that. I mean, maybe I could figure out a way to do that. But usually what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll just say, oh, okay, I'm going to take that person and move them into breakout room 1. And then suddenly you'll find yourself in breakout room 1 instead of in breakout room 3 or whatever. But I'm resume recording. And now I'm going to share my screen. And at this point, I will now let's see here. I'm going to close that. Got to get to there's where we're at here. Here's my TU remote. I'm going to go with 18. Let's see if I can get in there. I know with everybody, is there anybody on 18 already? Okay. All right, this says I can't get in. Becca. Let's see who Becca. Somebody just joined in who, not sure. Okay. All righty, let's try this again. I'm going to go back to remote. Here's my, let's go with number 3 and see if that'll help. Okay, I am now going to get myself connected. I'm putting in my temple there. All right, and my Zoom windows end up on top of everything. We've got continue. Oh, it didn't work. Let's try a different computer. Let's go with number 4. And again, we're pulling this up. And all right. Now it's asking me, it says it can't verify the, oh, there we go. Okay. And here we are getting connected. That's great. You can all see how it's, and I'm on computer 4. So if any of you guys do go to get connected on again, do me a favor and don't connect to computer 4, it'll kick me off. It turns out that, by the way, I was reminded by the IT guy the other day that only one person at a time can be on a computer. And that includes when people are sitting in front of it. So if somebody is in the CAD lab using that computer and you are connecting to it remotely, they can kick you off and you can kick them off. So let's try to be, if it says somebody's using a computer, try a different one. All right, so here I am connected. And this is what it looks like if I'm sitting in front of computer 4 in the Metals CAD lab. Again, here is our server. You should be able to, by the way, just double click on the Metals server and it should open up the window. If it asks you for a login, just close that and try again. There is a script that runs on each of our computers in the CAD lab that should log you in automatically. If for some reason you need to log in, do not log in with any of your Temple credentials because our server does not recognize those. The login for our Metals server is, the username is Metals and the password is CAD-CAM. There's no caps, it's METALS is the username. The password is CAD-CAM. Hit enter and you'll get logged in. You really shouldn't have to do that, but just in case. So here we go, CAD 1, let's see, CAD 1 Spring 2022 Bauer. Everybody should have a folder in here now. Okay, and it looks like most of you do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5. Okay, so we're missing a couple. Looks like we don't have one from Sultan. And
sorry, I put mine inside your folder.
Inside my folder. Oh, okay. Nope. We don't want to do that. We want to put that inside everybody's folder. So we're all in the same place. Great. Okay, there we are. Perfect. And then Tiani, looks like you still have to put one in, and we'll talk. We'll talk in a little bit. But okay, so this is where we're at. I do not have to have this open at this point. Now I'm going to open Rhino. Okay, so Rhino 7 is on the desktop. You'll also find it if you go up under applications, under the start menu. But I'm just going to double click on Rhino 7 and that'll bring that up. The first time you open up any of these computers, it will set up the toolbars. The statistics, just hit OK. And here we are. Welcome to Rhinoceros. I'm going to minimize my Zoom window. So if any of you Yes, Claire, that is correct. I'm reading the chat now. It says, yes, they can decline you logging in if someone's actively using it. Yes, that is correct. So if you try to log in, they can say, someone's trying to log in. Are you okay with that? And they can say, nope, I'm busy. Or if they didn't log out, then you can kick them off, because that's what happens a lot of times. Sometimes people just close that window. Sometimes people leave it up and walk away. This is why you do have that option to kick people off. And they also have the option of not accepting your request to use the computer, especially if they're sitting there. So yes, that's a good point, Claire. All right. So we're going to start here with, we've got lots of stuff here with Learn About Rhino that comes up underneath. We've got the user guide. There's a PDF, and then there are tutorials. This is great information. And this actually, a lot of these links are where we're going to learn. We're using materials in this class that were prepared by McNeil. McNeil is the company that makes Rhino. So, so this information is super accurate. Generally, the way the tutorials are written occasionally are not super clear, though. I will say that. Every once in a while, we hit a little hiccup as far as the way they explain things. But the first place that you're going to want to go is over here in the help menu. You're going to go to the Learn Rhino option here, and where it says tutorials and samples, bring that up. Okay, and here you have this cute little panel, says Rhinoceros tutorials, and with a cute little mortarboard hat. I like to dock this over with the panels here. All right, and it's not the help. Goodness me, here we go. I like these both one on top of one another. Here we go, and so we can move this up. Level 1 training manual is where most of our lessons are. So if we open up this submenu, here's our Rhino Level 1 training guide. We double click on that and it'll open up in a browser, generally Edge, because that's Microsoft these days. And on the side here, you can see the table of contents. So when we go to Canvas, which we have in our browser as well, and there are links to the lessons, they will take you to a website that is hosted by McNeil. You can see it's McNeil Rhino 7 tutorials. Okay, and so here you can see there's a table of contents here, or you can bring up your table of contents on the side. So we usually start with chapter 4. It's a good idea to read the introduction, to read about getting the models, to read what is Rhino. What is Rhino is kind of, for those of you who don't have any experience at all in 3D modeling, this is a good place to start. As a matter of fact, let's take a couple minutes and look through it. So what is a surface modeler? Okay, Rhino has tools to create and edit various types of objects, of which surfaces are one. So a surface in Rhino refers to an infinitely thin, infinitely flexible, mathematically defined digital membrane. It's different from a solid modeler that deals with solid objects, or a mesh modeler that deals with polygon meshes. Have any of you ever used a program like Rhino, or not Rhino, Blender, or ZBrush? So if you have, then those are, Blender is a mesh editor, and ZBrush works with solids that you manipulate with brushes and tools. But Rhino works with surfaces, then it works with poly surfaces, also solids, also known as kind of primitives, and solids are usually enclosed. That means they're watertight, quote unquote. There are extrusions. It also has curves. There are meshes in Blender. There are also, I see they haven't updated this yet for subdivision surface objects, which is a new thing in Rhino 7. Most of these, most of your tutorials here were written for Rhino 6, and McNeil is still updating them for Rhino 7. But we'll talk about subdivision surfaces as well during CAD 1. And so that's just a quick tour through the different types of objects that you can have in Rhino. And if you like, I'll give you a quick tour here as far as you have curves. And curves are basically like lines. If any of you have worked with Illustrator or with Inkscape, any vector design applications, you'll be familiar with the idea of a path, or in Rhino, we call paths curves. They're not all curved. Some of them are straight. For instance, a straight line is between 2 points, right? There's only 2 points there. And what you're seeing here is a mathematical representation of those 2 points in space and how they connect. Now, a control point curve is a little different. You have several points. So when I click on this, you can see those points. Again, the difference between a vector object and, say, a raster object is that one is mathematical and one is visual. If you look at programs like Photoshop that work with, and I'm overgeneralizing now. I know that Photoshop does have some vector capabilities, but the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator, which is generally the idea between a raster and a vector. And a raster is something that when you zoom in, it gets grainy because it only occurs as a visual representation. And as you zoom in, you see, your small objects or pixels get larger. Well, with a vector representation of, say, a circle, okay, and let's put that in the top here. Let's go circle here. If we zoom in, it doesn't get grainy. It just continues to, you see how far in, it doesn't change. That point just stays there. Okay, that's the difference between vector and raster. A vector is a mathematical representation of different points. Now, when you then have vector representations in 3 dimensions, and the objects that Rhino creates in conjunction with them is where you have 3D modeling and non-uniform, oh goodness, I can't believe that our school computers keep coming up with this Microsoft Xbox advertisement popping up in school. And now I lost my train of thought. I was explaining NURBS. Anyway, so that's just a quick, that's curves. Surfaces are created then between curves. You can create a surface. Let's go surface. I did this the other day, corner to corner. We can go in the right viewport, and there is a surface. By the way, we can view our viewports in a lot of different ways. Right now we're looking at it in wireframed. I myself like ghosted the best because ghosted makes things a little transparent, but yet they still appear somewhat solid. You can see through things, as you can see that curve on the other side, but yet you can see that this is a surface. The next thing we might have is a solid. Let's create a cone, and we'll do that in the front viewport there, and then in the right viewport, we'll extend it out, and there's that cone. All right. And then we'll have mesh. Now, mesh, you can create a mesh, or you can take a NURBS object, for instance, that cone, and it says select surfaces, polysurfaces, sub-Ds, and extrusions to mesh. Press enter. Okay, I hit enter. Now it gives me the option of changing how dense the mesh is. Let's make it fewer. Go there. And now this is now a mesh object. It created a new object. And we're going to just take that object and move it away. So here's our mesh object. And there's our NURBS object over here. The next thing that we may have is a subdivision. There are primitives for subdivisions. Let's make a sub-D box. All right, see where we're at. And here's our sub-D box. Sub-Ds are a little different in that we can manipulate them in different ways. And we'll talk more about those later, but just suffice it to say that just like the idea that NURBS are created between points and curves, in a sub-D, you have the option of, first of all, let me pull up my selection filter. That's important because it allows me to change the different things that I select. And I like to have that there. Let's turn on sub-objects. And now when I click on this, I can actually just manipulate these edges. I'm going to bring up Gumball too, by the way. Gumball is pretty awesome. It's a way of moving things in a precise way. So I can take just that line and move it out, and you can see how it edits the entire object in a way. So you can, in a subdivision surface object, you can manipulate just the edges, okay? Or you can, we can take that off, or you can just manipulate the points of which you have these intersections of your edges. And here I'm going to change that off again. Or you can also you manipulate just the surfaces themselves. Here I'm going to scale that surface right there. All right. So that's some of the differences in subdivision surface objects in ways that you can here we go. Let's get all four of these ways that you can change around a sub-D object. And then you can actually create mesh with this. You can go back and forth between regular Rhino objects and subdivision surface objects. So, but those are the different objects that we have available in, oh goodness me, what in the world? So sorry, why is this happening? Okay, let's go back to our, we've got curves and other objects. So now let's get to that Rhino interface. And I started to go over this the other day. Let's take a look and see what we have. So we've got the window title. This is the file name. Up here, this is an untitled. So let's say I save this. Here's my save icon. We could also do this under the file menu. File. And what I suggest, if you're working in on remote desktop, then you're going to want to save your stuff on the Metal server. Here's my, where are we at? There we go. And I'll save my stuff in here. I'm going to say intro. Okay. So now we can see that I've changed the file. Then we have the I'm gonna make this a tiny bit smaller and do this. You guys know about this trick, right? Where you drag one of your windows against the side and it will split your screen. It's kind of helpful. I can make this a tiny bit smaller so I can read. And we can look at this. So 2 is the menu. 3 is our command window. This is super important. So you have the command history up here, as I mentioned the other day too. You can see what I've been doing. Once you close and reopen the file, this disappears, by the way. This only stays open for the current session. Then we have the command prompt. This is where you can enter commands. For instance, let me take off, not control points, let me take off this sub objects. Okay, and if I click on this and I type in a command, if you start to type in a command, it'll start to give you a prompt on what it thinks you might have wanted. Let's say I just want scale. I can press enter for automatic. All right, and then here we go. I'm going to go like this and scale it a little. Okay. Auto command or autocomplete command. I just explained about that. Command options. So if you, let's say we put in circle, look at all these options I have. I can make that circle deformable, vertical, 2-point. We'll talk about all these different options around different commands. Every command, most commands have some sort of options. And this is where you really get into Power Rhino using when you learn all your different options. And I got to tell you, I've been using Rhino for like nearly 10 years now, and I still don't know all of the options of all the commands that I use. And it's fun to just sit and deep dive into the options of a command. You know, there's no risk in going ahead and experimenting with some of these things because you can always undo or just not save whatever your work is. Okay. And by the way, again, just a reminder that I have my Zoom window minimized. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in. So one thing that's interesting is you can repeat the last command by pressing the enter key. Okay. And so if I go in and I draw a circle in here and it's done, you can see that was the circle. If I hit enter, it brings up circle again. I'm going to hit escape. Another thing you can do is you can right click to get another circle or to bring up the last command. Using recent commands, canceling command, press escape, or just hit a new command. Now, then there's the toolbar groups. And this is all these little tabs here. You've got, things about construction planes, your views, display, select, your viewport layouts. We can change the viewport layout. Look at that. Now I have top here on the side. I can change this to, let's say set view. I can change this to left. All right, so we've got left and front, and over here we have perspective, right? Tool tips. These are super helpful. You just hover your mouse over an icon and you'll get more information about it. Okay, and then there's cascading toolbars. If you look at this, okay, and you click on that little arrow there, you can see these are all different options for ellipse, the ellipse command. Here's a bunch of different options for the circle command. Viewports. So these are your viewports. I'm going to go to that 4 viewport layout. We've got top, front, right, and perspective. If you double click on any one of them, it'll maximize that one. Yeah, I meant to. Gosh, this again. I keep trying to just make my viewport thing a little bit bigger. There we are. I'm also going to minimize this or, make it a little smaller, the command line there. Okay. by the way, we'll talk a little bit about mouse behaviors as well as this goes, but one thing that you guys need, this is vital, is a 3-button mouse. You must have a 3-button mouse. Rhino is very difficult to use if you do not have a 3-button mouse. With that said, there are people who get around it, but I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that at all, especially for CAD 1. And if you have trouble with things and you're not using a 3-button mouse, then that is a real problem. And I can't help you because, you know, although there may be shortcuts, they're not something that, you know, people that are obvious to anybody, to be honest. And and we have 3-button mice. We have 3-button mice in the CAD lab. So viewport titles, as I said, we double click on it. That maximizes that particular viewport. Here we're looking at the front viewport. Now we can look at the top viewport. We'll be working in the top viewport a lot for the first project. Now down here, and I have to move my little zoom window thing. Down here we have, this is our OSNAP controls. We can turn them off by hitting OSNAP here, but OSNAP is super powerful, super duper powerful. If we wanted to, let's use the center OSNAP here. We have center OSNAP on. We want to move this circle over top of this circle. I'm going to type in move. I'll hit enter. And now when I hover around the edge, notice that my mouse is around the edge. It's not in the middle, it's around the edge. And by the way, I'm going to shut off Smart Track. There's a little star that shows up in the middle. I'm going to click there. And now when I move it, I can find the center of that circle. And now those two circles are perfectly lined up by their centers. Look at that. You can see it really well here in our perspective viewport. Okay, it's right over here. There we go. Right here. Okay. OSNAP's the status bar. So the very bottom bar here will tell you in the coordinate system where your mouse is. All right. If you have the Alt key, you can turn that on and off. Some people find it a little distracting. I find it very helpful. Not to mention over here, it tells you what units you're working in. If I double click on that, wait a minute. Should be able to change your units. Here we go, unit settings. If you need to, you can change from millimeters to inches, feet. You can see all the different units that you could work in. Light years, you can design things in parsecs if you like. You know, you could be your own universe architect. So we're going to hit cancel, and I'm going to keep this in millimeters. Okay, and there we go, millimeters. Grid snap, that's helpful sometimes when you're modeling things from a schematic. Ortho will lock your mouse in relation to where you put it to 90 degrees. For instance, if I want to draw a line right here, see how my mouse, I'm moving it around in a circle, but it's only stopping it every 90 degrees, or 0, 90, 180, 270, and 0. Like the compass points. That's ortho. I shut off ortho. Now you see that it'll let me go anywhere. If I put on grid snap, you can see that my mouse is only stopping in the intersections of the grid. Smart Track is another modeling aid. Okay, if I turn on quad, there we go. I've got a quad OSNAP here. And then let's turn on mid, and you can see right there if I wanted to. Bring up different things. It'll create intersections between random places that you've clicked. Smart Track is a helpful tool when you know how to use it. Panels. So let's look at the sidebar here. So we have our tutorials. We put that panel there. That's not normally in there, but if you keep that there, it's very helpful for when you need to find those these models that you have to open up. For instance, okay, so we have changes to intro. We're not going to do it. So we brought up the hammer. This hammer 3DM. Where are we at? Okay, I thought that it did. I don't see the, oh, okay. It's just telling us that it wants to. Okay, here's our construction. So this is a file that we'll use for one of our exercises later in the semester. And this is a basic guideline that you will use to create a toy hammer. But you can see here how you can get to those models. So here in the panels, all right, this is where I wanted to, you have the properties panel. If you click on something, let's go back to the previous file I had open. If we go to the properties panel, we can click on something and it'll tell you about that object. It'll tell you it's a closed sub-D. Over here, if I click on that, it's a closed curve. It tells me what layer it lives in. Here's our layers menu. Right now, there's only one layer. It's the default layer. Let's create a new layer. I'm going to change the color of that layer. Let's make it red. I hit OK. And now I can put things in that layer. I just right-clicked, change object layer, and now that cone is part of that layer. Okay. So layers are super helpful because when you're modeling things with a lot of pieces, it'll help you keep things organized. You can put sublayers in. Here we go. Let's make the sublayer blue. And maybe there we need to have these curves. Okay. And I'm going to go. Whoop. That, we'll move that over to here. And so now if I hide this layer, if I hit that bulb, both of those objects disappeared. Okay, everything else is ending up on default. And the reason that everything else ended up in the default layer is because this means that it is our current layer. You can only have this one layer at a time checked. And that means anything new gets created under that layer. These aren't the same as Photoshop layers or Illustrator layers. The relation between layers, like whether something's at the top or the bottom, doesn't really matter as far as what they are. The main reason that you have these are to keep things organized visually by color. So you could hide things, so you can lock things. You can also assign materials, but we're not going to be doing a lot of that because that's stuff that we're going to use a better program for. We're going to use KeyShot to do that stuff. And then, so let's keep going down the panels. We also have that's Rhino render. We're not going to use that. We're not going to use the materials panel. This is a file menu. If you want to open things up, you can do that through here. But this is one of the most important ones. This is our help. And what happens here is if we bring up, let's say we click on this sub-D here, and we then go to our sub-D tools, and we decide that we want to use this sub-D cylinder. Now over here, this sub-D cylinder, they've got more information about it. So first of all, this is where you can find it. You can also find it in the menu under this. And over here, they're showing you how you create one. Draw the base circle, pick a location or a number. And then the direction constraint options, they talk about all these different options here, how many faces. You can use different things like elevator mode, O-snaps, and other modeling aids to pick a location. This is and look how much information we have here. This is all about the sub-D cylinder command. And this is all information that's right here. It's built into Rhino, and you can find it in the help panel. I suggest while you're in CAD 1, keep the help panel up all the time, unless there's a reason to be looking in your layers panel or your properties panel, and there are reasons to do that. Keep that help menu up. It's a super, super helpful thing. We've got the command line history. And, you know, I was talking about that before in terms of it only keeps track of the ones from the current session, and it also will only keep track of the last 500 commands. And you can press F2 if you want to view a, actually, I forgot I'm in. Here we go. If you want to view that as a separate panel. This is all the stuff I've been doing since I opened this up. Okay. I'm going to go close. That's fine. Now, mouse actions. All right, first of all, it says 3-button mouse. You have to have a 3-button mouse. Let's not even, it's not really up for discussion. You have to have a 3-button mouse. Use the right-hand mouse button to complete a command, to move between stages of a command, and to initiate commands. Also to repeat the previous command. If I right-click, it brings up that sub-D cylinder again. There we go, I'm doing that. And we'll do this. And there we go. I just created a sub-D cylinder. So with the right, let's go into perspective viewport. I am using the middle mouse wheel right now to zoom in and out. Okay, that's really important. Now I am pressing down the right hand mouse wheel to move around to tumble view. See how my icon changed from an arrow to this little, you know, twisty thing where I move in up and down or side to side, and it rotates and tumbles the viewport. Now, if I hold down the shift key and the right mouse button, see how it changes to a hand. So what that does is it just moves the viewport back and forth. And understand this will happen in any of the viewports. In the front viewport, I'm zooming in and out with the mouse wheel. I am panning back and forth with the shift key and my right hand mouse button. And of course, my left hand mouse button is a selection. Okay. Now, if I have a control button and I drag with the right mouse, it creates this interesting zoom in and out that happens a little faster than the mouse wheel. Okay. So that is all over here under mouse actions. And then we have exercise 4.2, getting started. So this is where I'd like you to start. It is important that you read and go through all of this previous here, but I wanted to go through it for you so you could understand a little better what was going on here without having the knowledge yourself to be able to create these things. But so I want you to start reading in there, and then you can start working in exercise 4.2. But start reading in depth at exercise 4. It's a good idea to read chapter 1, 2, and 3. They're kind of overview stuff, getting the models, all that, but that's not necessary right at this moment. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Take a look at everybody here. Okay. And what I'll do at this point is I'm going to stop recording. Actually, hold on, I'm going to pause. All right, so we're recording again. Again, I just stressed the importance of getting a 3-button mouse. All right, back to sharing the screen. Desktop. All right, so here's our here's where we're at. We want you to be going through chapter 4, the Rhino for Windows interface. We've got that. And here's where we're going to submit. So once you go through exercise 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and you get to 4.4, 4.4 is the one that you're going to submit. So when I get to 4.4, and here's where I'm going to go. Where's my desktop? All right, here I am. So I'm in chapter 3. Let's pull this up. Chapter 4, Rhino interface. And let's see. Yeah, here we go. I can actually pull up the different exercise 4.2, getting started. So here we go on the file menu, click open. This is how you're going to work through these. I'm not going to save changes. Click open, and what I want to open is Start 3DM. But you know what? I didn't save that down, but I do have the models listed here. So level 1 models are here. I can find it here, Start. I'm going to open this. But before I do anything else, now understand, I just opened the one that was in the CAD1 folder. I'm going to do a save as. And I'm not going to keep it in that folder. I'm going to keep it in my personal folder. And this is start_farb. Please put your name in all of your file titles. When I grade your work, I have to download them. So they all end up in my downloads file. And if everybody calls their files the same thing, I don't know whose file is who. So I need you to make yours, start_Sultan or start_Ann. So here we go. Open, go to level 4, open the start. So here is the here's the exercise it wanted me to open. On the view menu, click view, viewport layout, and then click 4 viewports. Because you see it started out with 3, top, perspective, front. I'm going to go view, viewport layout, 4 viewports. Okay, now I have 4. So this is what I want you to do. I just want you to go through these instructions, look at them. I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms. Feel free to talk to your neighbors in the breakout room. Here's where we're going to change the viewports. You're going to go, instead of wireframe, you'll go to like artistic and see what this looks like. There we go. And we can move things around and it shows up a little differently than Ghost or wireframe. Navigating the model. You guys may have trouble with some of these because you will need the 3-button mouse. Zoom in and out. Copy objects. So you're going to go through this whole exercise. Then you're going to do exercise 4.3. So you're going to open up the camera file for 4.3. And then you'll get to 4.4, which is lines. Where's 4.4? Here we go. Draw the lines. When you get to 4.4, you're going to want to save this either on your computer if you're working with your own copy of Rhino, or in your personal folder on the server. And then you're going to go into your assignment. Okay, and if it's where it says start assignment, you're going to upload it here. Okay, you're gonna choose that file, you're gonna find it. Yeah, desktop. I can't do that from here because my files are up in the, if you're saving your options on the file or on the server, we're gonna need to work in desktop. Can you see my Rhino right now? Can you guys see the Rhino with the PDF on the left side and the, okay, good. Thank you, Anne. So at this point, if we do the file save as, and I've got in start Barb, okay, so I know where it's at. Here I'm gonna go to temple.edu. Gonna have to log into my Temple portal. Where's it up on the bottom? There we go. Portal. Tab. Let's see. There we go. All right, I'm in now. So we're going to hit Canvas. And let's go to courses. We'll go to CAD 1. And there we go. Where's our, there we go, lessons and exercises. And if we go here, yeah, okay, so now I'm in student view. And where it says start assignment, I can upload a file. I'll choose that file. I'll go to Metals, CAD 1, Spring 2022, Barb Bauer, start.barb. Okay, and I'll submit that assignment. All right, oh, look at that. Oh, how nice. Are we submitting? Oh, yes, that is correct, Claire. The only one that you're requested to submit is, good question, by the way. That's, you are only submitting exercise 4.4. That's all that's required. But that doesn't mean that you should be skipping exercise 4.1, exercise 4.2, and exercise 4.3. All right. So this is, yeah. You're only submitting 4.4. You only have to submit what is requested. So here we go. So next week, let's look at next week. Next week, we need exercise 2, 6.2, and 6.3. So we'll go to chapter 5, modeling helpers, followed by the precision modeling tutorial. Complete the tutorial up to and including exercise 6.3. Save and submit the Rhino files for 6.2 Arrow and 6.3 VBlock. But you do have to do all of the ones in there, modeling helpers. So if we go here and we look at chapter 5, okay, we're going to close this. Modeling helpers. You got to do 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and then precision modeling is coordinate entry, 6.1, distance and angle, and then you do 6.2 and 6.3. If you, and you may be tempted to skip the ones that you don't have to submit. After all, I'm not grading those, right? But if you do that, you're going to be giving yourself a handicap moving forward, because it's important information that you learn in those exercises that aren't required to be submitted. But not all exercises have to be submitted. I'm only asking you to submit ones once a week, so that I know that you're making progress. And if you have any issues with any of the exercises, and that includes the ones that you don't submit and the ones that have to be submitted, then please let me know and we'll meet, we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll need to do a demo for the whole class, because quite often if you're stumbling on something, somebody else may be as well. And this is why it's great to have those breakout rooms when we're meeting virtually. So you could ask your neighbor, hey, you know, I'm having trouble with this smart track. I really don't understand what's going on here. And another person may say, well, I had trouble with that too, and I found that X helped me understand it. And that's all right. I actually think it's kind of fun to help one another. So, and also, you know, pull me into your breakout room and say, Barb, you know, 2 of us are having trouble with this, and we're happy to get everybody together and explain things again. All right, is that clear? I'm gonna stop sharing and we're gonna take a look at things. All right, okay, we got thumbs ups. All right, I'm gonna put us in breakout rooms again. And we'll do some one-on-one stuff. Okay. All right, so I'm going to open the rooms. You're going to get an invitation to a breakout room, and I will be pulling you guys out one by one and seeing how you're doing with the exercises. All right, come on. There we go.
I got a problem with my remote access thing.
Okay.
Like, I go into the list and most of them like are in use, and there's only 2 computers are available right now. And I did what you said. I also followed the instruction, but it doesn't let me access.
Okay, so just because a computer says that it's in use doesn't mean it actually is.
Yeah, like I download the thing, and then when I click it, it says error, and it gave me the error code.
Okay, so I'm gonna put you in room 1 with me, and we'll both talk about this, okay?
Okay, yeah.
All right. And I'm gonna join room 1. Am I still recording? Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, folks. Okay. So we are back, and I noticed that I've been recording the whole time. So I'm going to go back in and edit this recording to take out any of the one-on-ones that we did, that I was doing with people. I just realized that now that I should have stopped the recording. I don't know if it continued through the breakout rooms or not. I actually usually don't record in breakout rooms. I usually just let students record in breakout rooms. So, okay. So we just have 2 minutes left. Your first assignments are due tomorrow night at midnight, and that is exercise 4.4. If you're still having issues getting a mouse and you're not able to complete the assignments for some reason, please just send me an email and let me know. If you get them in late, you know, before Monday, that's all right too. So don't forget, we don't have class on Monday. So actually you could get them in, you know, you have a little time to get a mouse. It'd be a good idea to have these done by the end of the weekend at the very latest. If you have any issues, please just keep me in communication. I understand that, you know, maybe if you order one from Amazon, it might take a couple days to get here. If you run to the student store, you may be able to pick one up there. A wired mouse is fine too. They don't have to be wireless, as long as they have 3 buttons. They have to have right button, or left button, a wheel, okay, and a right button. So that's what you're going to need. It is essential for the class. It is one of the required things, and it is important you have that. Does anyone have any questions before I let you go for the day? And by all means, if anybody has any issues with either remote access or the assignments, get in touch with me. My cell phone number is in the syllabus, as well as I think I included it in the email the other day. The Zoom link we used today is the Zoom link we'll be using for the rest of the semester. So if you need to, you can go into Canvas in Zoom and find it there. You should be able to also find it in that email that I sent yesterday. Everybody have a great weekend, have a great evening, and I will see you all next Wednesday at noon, unless you have an issue. And otherwise, have a good weekend and enjoy your MLK day off. I hope you do something worthy. See you guys later.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Goodbye.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. Okay, and that's all good. We're going to end this.